Good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to our Civics Sunday Night Live. My name is Talia Davis. For those who don't know by now, I am a community organizer, activist, advocate, socialpreneur, revolutionary. But my main hobbies, or I guess my main passion, is public policy and community engagement. And so during this Civics Live, the main objective is to break down each election cycle and how it does affect us directly. Because I feel like the main disconnect in our community when it comes to elections is like the information education. So with that being said, previously we talked about the midterm elections, which happened nationwide November the 6th. And then we talked about the roles and the responsibilities, the levels of government during the midterm election, what the midterm election meant. In the very last session, we talked about the results of the elections. So if you hadn't checked us out, please go check us out. I do go live on Instagram and Facebook, T_07 on Instagram, and Talia, Taliya Davis on Facebook. So check us out on both. And so I always like to keep it nice and brief, under 10 minutes if I can. And so with it being Sunday and it being late, I mainly wanted to talk about two things. Number one, I just wanted to remind you guys that those ballot questions that we vote on are very important. And just a reminder, November the 6th, Florida was able to vote on their felons to get their voting rights restored by voting on those ballot questions. So please take time out to look at those questions in Philadelphia. In Pennsylvania, I hope we voted no for that question about I believe it's a county question, actually. So I know in Philadelphia, I hope you guys voted no. It asked about borrowing more money for our libraries and our streets. And you guys know they take enough of our taxes out. So hopefully you voted no on that question. But like I said last session, I will do my best to make sure that each election I get those questions and really break it down. But just know that they are important and pay attention to those. And I just wanted to say, make sure that you guys use your technology, find my elected official. You can Google that. But if you go to usa.gov, you should be able to find your city, state, and federal elected officials. And just be mindful of that, because due to a new election in November, there were some changes. And the next thing I just want to say is in Philadelphia, the next election. So every 6 months, there's a new election. So for those who don't know, you should be voting twice a year. Not once every 4 years, not once every 2 years, not even once a year. We vote twice a year, twice in one calendar year. So in Philadelphia, we're actually gearing up for our city council race, which takes place May 2019. But the candidates are getting their platforms out there now and they're campaigning. Starting now. Some of them are really going to hit the ground come January. But you guys, as the voters, as the ones who had the ability to hold them accountable, start looking out for that right now. All right, and again, politics are local, so it starts locally. Of course, the presidential election is something attractive, you know what I mean? But it's federal, so it's higher up. It's our city elected officials that affects us directly. Then the next level would obviously be our state, and then our federal. So if you were to ask me, I would say the closer the elected official are to the community, the more important it is to make sure that those people are doing what they're supposed to do. But it is a chain of command, so we want to make sure on all levels they're doing what they're supposed to do. But certainly those local elections. Another thing is the electoral college votes versus the popular vote. A lot of people in 2016 was turned off because more citizens voted for Hillary Clinton to become the president, but because of the Electoral College, which takes place during the presidential election, that didn't happen. And so a lot of people, and you can't blame us, but there's a lot of distrust and disbelief in the system. But just know that when it comes to local elections, that electoral college does not take place. It is about the popular vote. All right, so that's all I really had for y'all. Like I said, if y'all didn't check out our Saturday Civics Night Live, please check it out. We talked about the election results on a state and federal level when it came to the midterm election. And we will just continue to keep you guys in the know. And again, go to USA.gov. Check out who your newly elected official is, because my last important point that I want to touch on is we just had a current gerrymandering. And a gerrymandering is basically something that takes place every 10 years, and it deals with the districting of your district. So like those invisible lines that contain your district, that's a gerrymandering. And if you do your homework, you will see that, like, basically it was unfair. You know what I mean? Like it didn't make sense. The districting didn't make sense, and obviously it was to put a certain party in power, which we know what happens. And so don't be discouraged. Just know that it's, like I said, it's a new disposition. Things are happening, changes are being made, like the redistricting due to the gerrymandering. So all the lines, the invisible lines that make up your district actually make sense. It's not to put one person in power, but it's what makes sense. So that was another reason why this last midterm election was so important, because of the gerrymandering. And so with that being said, I will reiterate, you have newly elected officials due to that may not have existed in certain districts. All right. An example I will give is in Pennsylvania, we now have a 5th congressional district, which just came about in April, right before the midterm, right before our primary election in May, because of the gerrymandering, because of these invisible lines, which made up a district that actually makes sense now. There were some new districts that came about. So just keep your eyes out. Philly, I'll be keeping you posted on the city council races. Every other state. Pennsylvania, I'll try to keep you updated on the statewide elections, and every other state, I'll try to do my best. But thank you guys for joining in. It's Sunday, so I'm going to let you go. It's late. Thank y'all so much. And tune in, not this weekend, but the following weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Peace. Do your homework.